Hi, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to talk to you about your number one work relationship at work. Now, I see a lot of people in my career, as you know, as many of you know, since 2009, I've had my own education business. I do college prep and SAT prep and college essays and this kind of thing. And I've been doing this since about 2009. But prior to that, I worked in many different positions, primarily as an engineer, consultant, but I was also a sales trainer. I was a salesperson. I was a recruiter. I was a manager. I was an instructor. I even worked as a contractor. I worked in big federal agencies, smaller city government agencies. I worked in global corporations. I've worked in smaller and medium-sized companies as well. So I've worked in both the public and private sectors, and I found success in my career prior to owning my own business. And so there's a lot of insight and advice that I want to share, especially with younger professionals, but really for anyone. So I've seen a lot of people make the mistake of mistaking which relationship is the most important one in their careers. I've always made it a point, and this is soon after I graduated college, all the way up to having my own business and being self-employed. I've always made it a point in every company I've been to, in every position that I've had, in every company and agency and organization that I've worked in, that my goal, my number one goal, was to have a great relationship with my boss, my immediate supervisor, and to make him or her look good. That's what I always felt was my goal. And so I've heard a lot of people say things like this. Like I have a friend a long time ago who said, man, I just can't get along with female managers. I just don't know what it is. But every time I have a female manager and he says he had two or three of them, I just don't get along with them and it just doesn't work out. And then I've heard some people say, I just don't get along with male managers and I don't know what it is, or some people will say certain ethnicities I don't get along with, or there's all kinds of categories that people put categories into, and they just don't seem to get along with certain types of people. And I can honestly tell you that I've had probably in my career, let me try to just give you, so right after college, I worked for an electronics retailer, national electronics retailer, for 2 years as a salesperson, as a recruiter, as a manager. I left there and I went and worked as an engineer for 3 years in a company. And then in that same company, I worked for two different supervisors. From there, I went to a smaller company and I worked for two different supervisors there. From there, I moved clear across the country and I had a supervisor. And then I left after about 5.5 years. I went to another federal agency and I worked there, had a different supervisor. When I left that, I worked as a consultant for a little bit, and I had maybe like two different supervisors. And in my career, up until I owned my own business, I probably interviewed about 12 or 13 times since college. And I've gotten job offers for every interview that I have had. And I will go into that and I will make videos about that and successful interviewing skills and so forth in another video. But in this one, I'm just telling you all that to say that I've had a pretty storied career. I've been there, I've done that, and I've worked for a lot of different supervisors, male, female, a lot of different ethnic backgrounds, and on the West Coast, East Coast of the United States, and so all over the place. But I can tell you, I've gotten along with every single supervisor that I've ever had because I make it a point to get along with them. That is my number one most important work relationship is my boss. Colleagues come and go, coworkers come and go. And yes, it is important to get along with everyone as much as possible if you're in a work environment. I mean, it's not comfortable making enemies, and you certainly should not make enemies. I think sometimes enemies are made. Sometimes people want to think that they are your enemies. I never go out seeking to make an enemy. But my number one relationship was always with my supervisor, my boss. That is the most important thing. It is important that you get along with your boss. If you do not get along with your boss, you can get along with everyone else, but your job will always be in jeopardy. It will always be in jeopardy. And when you move on to another position at another company, you're going to need good recommendations because most companies will always ask, oh, what are your, who do you have as recommendations? And then if you don't put your former supervisor down, they're going to wonder, why aren't you putting your former supervisor down? Did you have a bad relationship with that person? And if you had a bad relationship with that person, I'm wondering if you're going to have a bad relationship with me, the new supervisor is thinking. And so it's very important, especially if you're a young professional, you're just starting out in your career. Mark my words, it is the most important thing that you can do is to have a good relationship with your supervisor. Even after you leave that job, I still keep in touch with some of the supervisors that I have had, and I'm grateful in my heart for the things that they've done for me. I mean, I think back to, 30 years ago, and I think back, well, nearly 30, not quite 30 years, I guess, but nearly 30 years ago. And I think back to some of my first supervisors and my mentors and people who helped me, who trained me and so forth. I am so thankful to them still to this day. And I think it's so important that you always give credit where credit is due, that you don't try to outshine your boss. You don't try to leapfrog your boss and go to your boss's boss and try to develop a good relationship there. And maybe, you try to take over your bosses, but don't play politics. Just stick to doing excellent quality work and always make your boss look good. This is what I always thought. This is the way I've always operated in my career. My job is to make my boss look good. If my boss looks good, I'll look good. If I try to outshine him, that's not good for me. It's better to make my boss shine. Even in June of 2005, when I was working for the government, I got a call from my boss one day, and he said, tomorrow, are you busy? And I said, I don't think so. I mean, what do you need, boss? And he says, a lady's going to call you from a magazine, from an industry magazine. And I said, well, why would she call me? I don't understand. He says, because you're going to be published in the magazine. And I said, what, really? Like, how did that ever happen? And he said, well, I lobbied for you. I mean, I put you in, I nominated you, and I told them what you did. And, my boss and I worked on a big project, and, we got support from our director and even the mayor at the time. I worked for a city agency, and it was, so we accomplished a lot of things, but my boss nominated me, I didn't even know, for this nationally published magazine in our industry. It was the most widely circulating magazine in our industry. So he had nominated me, and every year they pick, I think, 17 people in all of North America, in Canada and the United States, as the 17 best in the business, in the industry. And I guess I was selected as one of those. And he told me this one day, just out of the blue. And I was very surprised and grateful and humbled, and I was very happy about that. So the next day, the lady calls me. We're on the phone, and she interviews me, and I tell her some things. And before I know it, a few months later, sure enough, published in the magazine. And behind me, the center, I framed it because I thought this is probably the only time in my life I'll probably be published in a magazine. So I framed it, and I think you might be able to see it on the video here. It's that one right in the middle with the wood frame around it. But I was published in that magazine, and I was so happy. I was so thankful. And the reason my boss did this was that we had a great relationship. He trusted me 150%, and I trusted him 150%. He knew that whatever I did, I would do it with his best interest at heart, and I would always give him the credit. And even in the magazine, when I was being interviewed, I said, look, none of this could have happened without my boss's support. He's the one that plucked me out of Seattle, brought me over here, trusted me, gave me the resources that I needed to do what I needed to do. And he helped me get the director's support, and even the deputy mayor's support, the mayor's support, and he helped me, get the funding for it. I mean, he did all the things behind the scenes so that I could do my job. And so really is a credit to my boss and the director of our agency. And I said that, and that was also published in the magazine, because this is absolutely true. Now, some people might look at this and say, well, you're just trying to kiss butt. You're just trying to, brown nose. I think there's a big difference between that and having a genuine relationship. I'm not talking about, kissing anyone's butt or brown nosing. I'm not talking about that just to get ahead. I'm talking about developing an authentic relationship. not just so I can get ahead, not so I can get a pay raise or anything like that. I never asked for a pay raise from that boss ever. And in the 5.5 years that I worked for him, he called me into his office twice to give me promotions that I never asked for. I was not expecting those things. He gave me pay increases like I have never seen in that industry. And like I said, he helped me get published in a magazine and so forth. This was all because we had a very real and authentic relationship. I love this man, and he was just a wonderful, wonderful boss. And I still say that to this day. And it's been, I don't know, 15 years since I worked for him. And so I would urge you in your career, in your workplace, always make it your goal to do the best quality work possible to make your boss look good. That relationship with your boss is the number one most important relationship at work. And I think if that is good, then I think everything else will fall into place as well. So I hope you find that helpful, and I hope that it benefits you in your own career. And until my next video, stay well.